Hey everyone, and welcome to a brand new series that we're doing here on the Sleeklens YouTube channel, and that's called the Mimic series. So the Mimic series is going to be a great way for beginners out there to learn Lightroom, especially in Lightroom, because most of this will be done in Lightroom. It's a great way for beginners to learn Lightroom and get used to actually creating really cool effects. So how this is going to go is I'm going to take a photo that I found online and that I really like the way that it's edited. Then I'm going to find a similar photo that is kind of unedited, a little bit under processed, and I'm going to take them both into Lightroom and I'm going to show you how to mimic one photo onto the next. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you a free preset, a free XMP preset for you so you can download it and use it on your own photos, or you can just create your own and follow along with me. So let's go and get to the first photo here, and I'm going to show you how to mimic a specific editing style, and this will get you used to using different kind of sliders, different kind of effects in Lightroom. So let's hop into it. So here we are in Lightroom, and I have this photo right here. I really like how it's edited. It's got some different effects to it. Looks really kind of cool, and I want this photo here to kind of mimic this editing style. So I'm going to show you exactly how to do this and exactly the sliders that need to be changed to kind of get this different kind of effect. So one easy way of doing is kind of see a side-by-side view is actually use the reference view in Lightroom. So they're going to see down here, if you've updated to one of the latest versions of Lightroom, you're going to see an R and an A icon down here. If you click that, you'll be able to get a reference view. So this is like an old photo I was messing with. So I'm actually just going to take our photo that we want it to look like. I'm going to take this and just drag it up in here, and it's going to stay here. It's not going to move. It's just going to stay in this exact spot. And I can go over here, and all of my edits are going to be applied to this photo. And this is just going to be, again, a reference. This is going to allow me to match it a little bit more easily. So I'm going to go over here to my basic. I'm going to start out on the basic here, and everything is set to 0. I'm going to reset this a couple times. And just before I start out, this is not trying to make this photo look better than this one. It's just trying to show you how to use different sliders and what exactly they do to kind of get a certain effect. So let's start off with a basic here. I know I want to warm it up a little bit because this is obviously a little warmth. So I'm just going to take up the warmth to limit the temperature a little bit. Let's go to around plus 11. Well, that's a little bit too much. Let's actually back it down because we can do this a couple different ways. So let's back it down a little bit. I'm going to bring out a little bit more of the blue and the magenta actually. Let's go to negative 11, roughly around there. It's adding a little bit more blue, and now let's add a little bit more magenta. And this will all fade out when we apply some of the different edits. So this is going to look really bad right now. But you'll see what's going to happen when we start fading in some of these edits here. So I'm going to take the contrast up. It's got a little bit of contrast in there. Again, we're going to fade a lot of this out, and that'll mainly be done in the tone curve section. So actually, let's go ahead and hop in the tone curve, and you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to get down here to the tone curve, and I'm going to apply a basic RGB tone curve. This is kind of a faded tone curve, and then we're going to hop into different channels here. So I'm going to take a quick fade, and one of my favorite ways of doing a quick fade is actually creating a point roughly around this the top point of this bottom box here. Represents kind of the shadow area. So I'm going to take that, drag it over a little bit here, and I'm going to take this different handle and just drag it up. And you can see it starts to fade. You can see it starts to have a little bit of shadow, a little bit faded shadow effect here, and so that's what we're replicating this way. And I'm going to just make sure that it's over in this area here. There we go. So let's try that. Let's see how that looks. We might come back and change it, but that looks pretty good. And now let's go to the blue channel, actually. You can click over here where it says channel, and you can manipulate the different red and green and blue channels. So let's go to the blue channel. And the reason why we're doing the blue channel is because the opposite of blue when it comes to RGB is yellow. So you can actually bring in a little bit more of the yellow tones, which obviously this photo has a lot more yellow tones. So we're going to bring in a little bit more of the yellow. We're kind of going to do the basic, the same tone curve that we just did. So I'm going to create a point here. I'm going to drag it down roughly around here, and you can already see a little bit of that yellow coming back. And now we'll fade in a little bit more. So roughly around there, and we can move this up a little bit more. So there we go, looks pretty cool. And now we're going to add a little bit more of the color difference here. This has got a lot more yellow, a lot more warmth to the image. So what we're going to do is actually go to the split tone. I'm going to go down here to the split tone, and for the highlights, I want to add a little bit more of the yellow again. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to choose a little bit more of the yellow. So let's go roughly around here, kind of going in that yellow reddish area. So do that, and then I'm going to, let's take the saturation. I'm going to take that down to 17, 15, somewhere around there, so that looks good. Balance, I'm not going to touch that just yet, but I am going to make a little bit of this this color here in the shadows here. I'm going to go more of a, almost more of a pink, I guess, pink or purple. So let's go over here. And then we'll fade this in. You'll see what I'm talking about. The saturation is a little bit too much right now, so that's the kind of color I want, but we're going to back down the saturation. Let's go all the way down to 5 or 6. So again, it just adds a little bit of hint of a purple tone, and there's a little bit of that going on over here, so that's kind of what we're mimicking, and a little bit on the hair as well. And now we're going to take the balance, and we're going to take the balance up to give a little bit more of that color. So roughly around there, looks good. All right, so now let's go back to our basics. And this is where we kind of finalize this edit here with the basic adjustments. So exposure's pretty good. I'm going to keep that there. I'm going to take the highlights. I'm going to go down just a tad on the highlights, because if I go down too much, it starts to kind of really wash it out. So I'm going to go down a little bit there, and we'll take the shadows. We'll go down on the shadows. You can see it's kind of darkening them up a little bit. Roughly around there, and then we'll take the whites. We definitely want to bring the whites down because there's too much white going on. So let's go here, and that would be the main edit here. Let's take the vibrance down as well, and the vibrance really brings out some of that yellow. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm liking the way that looks. Let's just let's go look back to our tone curve here and see what we got. Yep, looks pretty good. I can actually add a touch more warmth if I wanted to. And there we go. So that kind of mimics that style. If I was doing this on my own, if I wanted to play with it a little bit more on my own and not just mimic it, but actually make it a little bit more of my own style, what I would personally do is actually add more contrast to the image and just kind of really highlight that model right there. I can also do a little bit of a vignette if I go down here to the effects and do a kind of a post-crop vignette, bring that in. And it looks pretty good. I might take the highlights down a little bit more, but other than that, that would be the kind of mimic of this particular edit. So if we look at the before and after, you can see what we got here. We really changed things up, and this would be more of a dramatic edit, and it's a kind of a cool effect. So not just trying to make this photo look exactly like this. Obviously, we tried the best we could, and we got a really good result out of it. But I'm really trying to show you the different sliders and exactly how you can achieve certain effects that you might see online to these kind of effects in Lightroom. So it's a really cool effect there. So if you want to download this free XMP preset, follow the link in the description down below. That'll take you over to sleeklens.com, and you can download that free preset right away and start using it on your photos, or you can kind of just follow along with this video and create your own. So thank you guys for joining me in this Mimic series video. This has been Jordan from Sleeklens, and we'll see you in the next one.